Good afternoon once again, dear friends, and welcome back to Livestock TV. We are going to look at a very disturbing disease that is always causing havoc to farmers. And I want us to quickly look at what we can do to free ourselves from this disease. So we are looking at Coryza. Yes, Coryza. We want to look at how it infects our birds, how we can treat it, and how we can prevent it. So don't go anywhere. Stay with me and let's learn about this dangerous disease. Thank you. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with me. If this is your first time of passing through this channel, I will plead with you to support me by subscribing to the channel and also sharing the videos that you have on the platform. You could share with your colleague farmers or those who are not farmers and who still want to learn about the poultry farm business. This platform is dedicated not just for poultry farm business but livestock entirely. So you could as well stay on this platform as we discuss a number of topics. Thank you. So today we are looking at infectious coryza. Infectious coryza, or simply put, coryza. This disease doesn't come in to promote our business. It comes in with the intention of destroying our birds, bringing down our profits, and increasing our cost of production. So in this case, I always say that it is not friendly to the farmer and to the poultry farm. So we have to put all our strength together and fight this disease. Infectious coryza is caused by bacteria. Yeah, it is caused by bacteria. And the bacteria is called Haemophilus paragallinarium. Haemophilus paragallinarium. And it is such that when it infects your birds, so I'm talking about morbidity. When it infects your birds, it could infect as high as between 10 to 70% of your birds. Morbidity. So what it means is that if you have about 1,000 birds, then if any of your birds gets infected, it could go as high as between 100 of your birds up to 700 of them. So you could see that it is there for business. Now let's look at mortality. That is, if it enters your farm, the number of birds that could possibly die out of this disease, and it's up to 20%. However, if it is not well handled, if we do not fight it well by getting involved, the veterinary officers and those who have the technical know-how to help you fight it, then it could be more. So what it means is that if you have 1,000 birds and it sets in, it could kill as much as 200 of them. Now let's look at the age that is vulnerable. The age of birds that is vulnerable. This type of disease could infect all ages of birds. Or let me say all birds at all ages. That is birds at all ages. What it means is that from day one to the oldest bird on your farm, it could infect it. So it's a respecter of no age. Now let's look at the farm, or the vulnerability, as in what type of birds or the practice on the farm that could make your farm prone to this disease. Normally, farms that practice multi-age bird system is very prone to this disease. What I want to mean is that assuming or taking for instance a farmer A who has birds that are, let's say, 38 weeks and are laying. This farmer decides to go for another batch of birds and they are now, let's say, 14 weeks. Whilst taking care of them, he decides to order for another batch and they are now, let's say, 4 weeks. So it means that on that farm, there are different batches of birds at different ages. If you are practicing this, then it means that your farm is very prone to the infectious coryza disease. Now let's look at the impact. The impact that this disease could have on your farm if it enters in your flock. As we all are aware, you know that when it enters, it's going to increase your cost of production because you have to pay for the services of a veterinary officer who probably would come and inspect the birds and really confirm that it is infectious disease. Aside that, the drugs that he will prescribe for you, you have to buy and all that. So it could increase your cost of production. That is number one impact. Number two, it could reduce the number of birds that you have on your farm. Once your birds begin to die, it means that you are going to surely have a lesser number of birds as compared to the number of birds you ordered. Number three impact. It could make your birds partially go blind or completely go blind. If you are lucky and it infects just one eye, and for one reason or the other you're unable to treat it well, your bird could go blind. That is, one of the eyes could go blind. Or if it infects the two eyes and it is not well detected and treated properly, your bird can go blind completely, and in this case you are most likely to lose that bird. The next impact is that some of your birds could become carriers of the bacteria. Some of your birds could become carriers, and if they are carriers, what it means is that they will be cured all right, they will stay strong and healthy all right, but they will harbor the bacteria inside them, and this possibly means that they could infect others, or you still have the bacteria on the farm. And the last impact I would want to mention, there may be more, but the last impact I would want to mention is that it prolongs the maturity period of your birds. Birds mature with age and with weight. As they stay long and eat, they near their maturity period to begin to give you eggs, or if it's for broiler, for them to be ready for the market. Now, the moment this bacteria sets in, this bacteria enters your farm, some of your birds, that is those that are infected, when they go blind, they could not find or they could not see the feed to eat or water to drink. They lose appetite, and this means that those who are not infected, when they begin to lay, this very bird will not start with them. So it prolongs the maturity period of your birds. Sometimes you see that your birds have started laying, but there are a couple of them who still behave as if they are now 10 weeks. It's all because probably they got infected, you treated it, but the bacteria is having an impact on them. Okay, now let's look at the signs and symptoms. Let's look at the signs and symptoms. The first thing you could look out for is that some of your birds could have swollen face. That is facial swelling. The face becomes swollen. Number two, nasal discharge. That means you see some liquid coming out of their nose. Liquid substance coming out of their nose. Swollen wattles. Then the wattle becomes bigger than usual. It becomes bigger than usual. Sneezing. Your birds begin to sneeze. Sometimes it is continuous. So sneezing is one of the symptoms or signs and symptoms if your birds have infectious coryza. Then if your birds are laying, of course you know what is going to happen. Drop in production. It could drop your production to up to between 20 and 40%. You could lose up between 20 and 40% of your eggs to this bacteria. Then loss of appetite. Loss of appetite. They find it very difficult to eat because they are really suffering from this disease. Then you will see swelling and closure of the eyelids. So sometimes you see that the eyelids have swollen, and sometimes you see that they are closed as well. So this is one of the reasons why they are not able to get see where the feed is and eat. So they begin to lose weight. Now let's look at the prevention. It is better to prevent this than to look out for the treatment. If you are unfortunately having the disease on your farm already, then you have no choice than to treat it. But if you are lucky and you are not experiencing it now, then you have to prevent it from entering your farm. The first thing you can do to prevent this bacteria from entering your farm is the use or the practice of biosecurity. We have treated biosecurity on this platform, so you can look for the video and watch it. Biosecurity, to make sure that it does not enter in the first place. Number two, you have to practice regular disinfection of the farm. So from time to time, you need to disinfect your farm. Then one more thing you can do is to practice what we call all in, all out policy. All in, all out policy. This means that you are going to keep a single age population on the farm at a time. So you go for 1,000 birds, you work with them, you keep them till they become so matured, and you dispose them. If they are laying eggs, when they end their eggs, or when they get to the age that you wish to dispose them, you clear all of them from the farm, you disinfect the farm until and you wait till you get the next batch. If it is broilers, you keep them till they are matured, you sell all of them out, you disinfect the farm before you go for the next batch. So all in, all out policy. All of them will come in at a time, they leave at a time before the next batch is ordered. Let's look at treatment. How do we treat such a disease, this bacteria? The first thing we can do is to, one, identify the infected birds. That is the first thing you should know. You should be able to identify the infected birds. Then you have to isolate them. You have to isolate them. That means you take them away from the flock, or that is the ones that are healthy are not and are not infected. So you have to isolate the infected birds. Then, after isolating them or taking them away from the main, um, the rest of the birds, you give them any antibacterial drug that contains tyrosine. Any antibacterial drug that contains tyrosine. I'm not ready to mention any particular drug on this platform, but you just look for any any antibacterial that contains tyrosine. But before you do this, you make sure that you are so sure that this is the disease that is really disturbing your birds. The most sure way is to get the veterinary officer to actually check this out for you. Now, for those birds that are already infected and they are really showing the signs and symptoms, sometimes you realize that when you open their eyes, there are white substance that are actually in the eye. What you have to do is that quickly you need to help your bird out by removing them. If you don't, this could make your bird go blind. Yeah, it could make your bird go blind. So you have to make sure that you personally find a way of removing that white substance in the eye. I also faced a situation some time ago, and this is what I did. After isolating the birds, in fact, there were about 10 of them. So after isolating them, I got this advice from a veterinary officer who asked me to go for a mild eye drop and then continue to give them the antibacterial drug, all right, but you can use the eye drop on their eyes regularly, sometimes 3 times in a day, to help them heal quickly. Thank you very much for staying with me, and please do subscribe to the platform so that you continue to support us in this business. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.